All right. Happy New Year, everybody, and greetings. Thank you for joining us, everyone. I've got my little Happy New Year celebration going. Sorry for that. January 3rd, it's our first day back on the new year. And I just want to say Happy New Year to everybody. I hope everyone had a great holidays and had some fun with their family and their friends and got a little time off. I know this is probably a tough start for the whole year here, coming on to a multi-hour review of the state of cyber. But I do want to say thank you to not only all our panelists who are coming on today, but all the attendees. This is the largest group of attendees we've ever had for an event. And I just want to say thank you for joining us. And I hope you like the new NightDragon brand behind us here as well. We broke that out in December. And as you know, we've been working hard here at NightDragon to come to you with events and information and education in ways that we've never done before. So this is our second annual State of Cybersecurity event. And if you move the slide forward, you'll see that this is just an incredible group of panelists and things that we have as well. And if you're not familiar with NightDragon, I almost feel like this is my dream job. And for those who don't know me, I'm Dave DeWalt. I'm the founder of NightDragon, and I've been in the cybersecurity and national security markets for now over 20 years. Feels like dog years for those who are in the cyber industry. But wow, I mean, what a set of years we've had here in the cyber markets. But I feel so lucky to have just an incredible job. It's like a dream job here at NightDragon. I get to meet with companies every week, new companies, hundreds of companies every year from all over the world. We get to do advisory, we get to do investments in those companies. And I always say it's easier to tell CEOs what to do than do it yourself. So it's a fun job for me and a lot of fun. And I get to meet such amazing people. And I always say it takes a village, and we have just an incredible village of people here at NightDragon, partners, now over 115 partners with NightDragon. We do events all the time. Last year, we did 35 events, and we created 7.4 billion impressions of our NightDragon brand. Amazing, fun for what we're doing in marketing. We have all-stars at NightDragon's family, over 55 advisors now as part of our group. And our whole goal here is to create visibility to the threats and trends that are happening in the world of cyber and the world of national security. And our slogan at NightDragon is securing our world for tomorrow, which I love. It gives me, kind of hope and mission. And I love it. Fun, learning, mission, money is the dream job. And I'm so proud of the team and the things that we're doing here that I can't help but say thank you to all the shareholders, all of our employees, all of our advisors, all of our partners, all our portfolio CEOs for trusting in NightDragon. And thank you for that. So happy New Year to you all. And let's get started. So my gosh, we have just an incredible year in review to talk about. So I'm going to do about 8 to 10 minutes of a little bit of a review. So if you advance the slide, what a couple of years it's been. And I tried to summarize from all of our advisors and all of our people that we're involved with kind of a bit of a story to what I see happening in the marketplaces right now. And, you can read for yourself, but it's an incredible situation that we've had. I mean, from the time the pandemic broke out to the resulting economic crisis, to the cultural crisis, Black Lives Matter movements, domestic violence in the United States, the election situation, the economy recovering, the economy going back into recession. And, what a time. We had supply chain issues. We've had a war breakout. We've had this, incredible couple of year window. And 2022 was, simply, I don't know, in my 20 plus years, I've never seen anything like it. So I always start with, what I've said for years. I mean, the cyber super cycle has continued. And why is that? Because the threat environment fuels that. And if you study 20 years of the cyber industry, like many of us in this village have done, we watch it. What happens? The threat environment creates responses by customers and clients and partners all over the world to spend more money to protect themselves. And that creates more and more spending and growth in the cyber ecosystem, which then creates more investment into the cyber ecosystem. So what happened in 2022? Probably the biggest headline, the cyber super cycle continued. And if you poll the CISOs out there, and we did many, many of them, over 66% of them said that their budgets would increase going into 2023. Now, albeit about 6 to 8%, which is a little lower than it had been in years past, but still growing and growing significantly faster than general IT. And it kind of makes sense because of all the risk that's happened. The other thing that's really occurred is cybersecurity has become a boardroom issue. And I know this is kind of an old cliche to say, but wow, has it become a boardroom issue? I mean, there's hardly a board, and I'm on one major board, Delta Airlines, where I chair safety and security, but just about every board in the world is talking about the threats that are happening in cyber, the regulation that's occurring from governments around the world, and we got to pay attention to it. The threat environment was incredible. I mean, ransomware. I'm almost sick of talking about it, but we had ransomware attacks almost every day. And in fact, almost every minute. And it was incredible to watch the spread of ransomware operators all over the world. And of course, geopolitical events exacerbate that, supply chain attacks, zero-day attacks. We have this perfect storm of threats, bigger and bigger attack surface, more and more vulnerabilities, more and more actors, more and more governments involved, more and more capability, more and more motivation. And what ends up happening, the danger levels in cyber just increase. And during my 20 years, watching it go from kind of hacktivism and nuisance type, Trojans and worms, to crime, to espionage, to literally warfare, both IP theft, information warfare, and now what I call a cyber physical convergence, which is cyber attacks, which can affect physical attacks, which can affect cyber, and you have this ecosystem that's occurring, which again is a bit of a perpetual storm. The third one in here from a major trend point of view, in my opinion, is we've watched a lot of new markets get created over the last couple of year window. And it's really interesting to watch what's happened. This whole shift during the pandemic, work from home, work from everywhere, I call it the big shift, has really created scenarios of technology opportunity that we really hadn't seen prior to the pandemic. Yeah, the cloud was growing. Yeah, there was a lot of opportunity in the cloud, but to say cloud has taken mainstream is an understatement. And to say that the resulting infrastructure around it has taken off is an understatement. So look at some of the numbers there. In 2022, we had over 19 billion just through September, 19 billion of new investments into the cyber ecosystem. This is substantially up from 2021. We had 119 billion through Q3 if you include M&A investments that went on. This will be a record year 2022 from an investment point of view, as well as from an M&A point of view. And of course, that has grown. If you look at some of the subsectors that have occurred, cloud, and AI, I like to say. If you don't have cloud, you don't have crowd, and you don't have AI, it's hard to be a cyber company in 2023. So creating the power of the crowd and intelligence, using AI and ML to process the crowd, being able to deploy through the cloud is really the companies that are winning and losing in these spaces today. And of course, we've seen a bunch of new sectors, 3 companies going over 100 million of revenue in the OT space, in the industrial system space, because of all the threats we saw in the cyber physical convergence area. We also saw massive growth in the information areas, protecting social media platforms like trust and safety, protecting non-email channels like WhatsApp and WeChat and everything else, and Zoom links like we're on. How to protect that, because why? Spear phishing is still one of the largest areas of attacks that we see out there. And what else is driving the cyber market? Government. This was a year of government like no other year in government in my 20 plus years in this space. Not only the government getting involved from increased spending, where we saw an explosion of spending growth in the government, not just federal areas, but state and local in the United States, our Five Eyes partners, our NATO partners, countries around the world realized they had to invest into the cyber domain at a much faster pace to protect this infrastructure, as well as to create offensive capability that really is the norm today. We also saw for the first time high regulatory environments as well. And I can't believe it. I'm so proud of the new administration in a lot of ways, Jen Easterly and Chris Inglis and Ann Neuberger and the teams that have come in to really create a village of public-private partnership like we never saw before. And it's really welcome. And now we have, the JCDC, if you're not familiar with that, the CISA advisory boards. We've now seen a cyber safety review board get created to look at incidents that occurred. We've had executive orders. We've now had software bill of material to be able to buy and procure into the government. All kinds of regulation driving new types of requirements in ways that we never seen before. So the government is here in a way like we hadn't seen in prior. And what has that really created? An interesting opportunity as we go into 2023. I always call it best of breed versus best of suite. Every few years, we watch the pendulum go back and forth. I really believe 2022 was a year of best of suite. We saw that. I did a number of interviews with Palo Alto Networks, Microsoft, which we have on today as well, CrowdStrike and Zscaler and others get bigger and bigger to a point where their growth acceleration at the size and scale that they are really has created like a titans of the industry. And I call it clash of the titans, cloud titans, cyber titans, even private equity titans, sovereign wealth titans, all putting mass money into this market. But what is the net of all of that? What an incredible early innings we probably still are in the world of cyber. The net, if you push the slide, you'll see it. We live in an asymmetric theater, this domain. We had over 6 trillion in losses in cybersecurity attacks in 2022, plus or minus 10%. And what do we have? A $400 billion a year market, if you include national security aspects to it as well. So 400 billion versus 6 trillion, pretty incredible situation coming out of 2022. So today we're going to spend some time talking to 15 experts. And you'll see here that I've tried to create a 360-degree view of the cybersecurity industry in our second annual State of Cyber report. If you advance the slide, you'll see some of the great people that we have. The first panel we have is going to be all about the system integrator and managed security services view. And we'll get to Richard and Chris in just 1 minute, just unbelievable participants. Then we're going to do a CISO view, where we've invited Google, Airbnb, and Cigna Health, one of the largest healthcare companies in the world, to give us their view from the CISO side. Then we're going to hear from Wall Street, which will be my favorite session, where I get to reverse my interview after 17 years as a CEO in public markets, where they interviewed me. I get to interview them back. And we have Sterling, Fatima, and Rob on the call, 3 of the leaders, over 100 years of coverage. Then we have 3 of the best venture capitalists, Alberto, as well as Nadav, as well as Bob from Forge Point, Teammate, and Allegis, to help us see the early ecosystem of cyber. Then we're going to turn the perspective to the big titans like Microsoft and Palo Alto to hear their views, especially as it relates to talent and the people problem of large scale that's going on. And then we're going to end it with the government, and we have a great guest in Kemba Walden coming on as well, who's the Deputy National Security Director. So a 360-degree view, and let's get started if we can. So